I'm going to do a video about the stuck Premier pedal. This pedal is frozen. Aside from the missing clamp here, this mechanism, this bottom bit should move up and down freely so that it can slide. So you have to unscrew this. There's another one on the other side. Slide this up and off of the pedal. The only tools you'll need really for this part is a flathead screwdriver and a 3mm Allen wrench. Flathead screwdriver is to take this off and that off. It's under tension, so I would release all of the tension on the pedal by just yanking it up. And then once you get this bit out, this cap has two little bolts there you got to get rid of with the Allen wrench. There are bearings inside of this. There's a spring here, spring there, two sleeves, and bearings in between them. So be ready to finagle that. I release the tension by stepping on this and then just really pulling this as hard as I can pull it up. Because again, this is frozen and it's really tight. Some should have a clamp you can unscrew and pull off and then get rid of that. Now we're going to unscrew here and on the other side, and then we're going to grab this piece and just slide it right off. Flatheads are the worst. Make sure you save all of what the screw looks like. Then this, we're gonna have to work real hard to slide this off. Now that that's loose, slide that off. I had to do it off camera because I'm videoing this myself, but what I did was I twisted it so that the corners were right there, and I used that leverage to pull it up and slide it off the top because it's frozen solid. This should move up and down easily. That and that spring is separate from this. I don't know if you can see down in there, in that little opening, there's ball bearings in there. When you pull this cap off, you have another spring, this sleeve, ball bearings, this sleeve, and the spring. And I'm probably gonna have to use penetrating fluid to get in here and loosen that up and then clean it. All right, so I'm on a surface where when the ball bearings fly out of here, they're not gonna go all over the place. And I'm gonna unscrew that, unscrew this, and I'm gonna hold this cap on there so it doesn't fly out. Not that it's gonna fly far, but just wanna make sure you don't lose anything. It's under tension now. And you can see how that's tension there. There's this piece, and here come the ball bearings. All right. Ball bearings tight. Now this is what's frozen. This sleeve here is frozen, will not go anywhere. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some penetrating oil in there, just around the edges. I put penetrating oil inside. I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit and do its magic. Okay, so I've let the penetrating oil sit in there. I even sprayed some WD-40 in there. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wrap a little rag around this bit, and I'm gonna use pliers to twist it off of there. Some pliers, and it should, with difficulty, twist out. Loosening it up. And I'm just twisting it. It's not screwed in there or anything. It's just so tight and dirty that now this piece will come out. So now what we're gonna do, pull this off, the spring off, right there. This has to get cleaned up here. This has to get cleaned. Then the inside of this has to get cleaned up. So I'm just gonna do that with WD-40 and a rag and then dry it. All right, now this is clean, and then the smaller end is where this piece goes. The spring's not on it yet because I'm just checking it. It's clean, but it's still really tight. It'll move now, but it doesn't move smoothly. And you can see there's some staining here, and inside here, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a little bit of pitting in here. So I've cut a little bit of sandpaper. So I'm just gonna lightly, very, very lightly, just kind of clean the dirt up here and then clean a little bit in here so it'll move smoothly. So after wrapping the sandpaper around this and just lightly cleaning it up, I put it in here with my finger, went around a few times. You can see how dirty it was, but that's cleaned it up really, really nicely, and now it moves very, very easily. No problem at all with that moving. And that's what we want. So what we're gonna have to do now is we're gonna have to put this here. I'm gonna clean this spring up, before I put it on there. Once the spring's on, this is gonna go on top. Be careful of these holes with the ball bearings, because the ball bearings will come out those holes. Then this spring goes in here, this goes on top, and while that's on there with this, you have to then put the ball bearings in there. It's a very tricky, delicate situation. And this actually goes like this. And like this. And the ball bearings sit between, in this area out here, the outside of that, with that. Okay, so here are the parts. It's ready for me to try to put it back together. Just if you were wondering, I've counted the ball bearings. There are 12 in here, 12 ball bearings. So the smaller part, that's a fat bit, and then the small parts at the bottom, on the bottom you have to, it's pressure fit, so you just have to really get that on there and slide it down on that. Then there's a fat opening and a thin opening. That goes in the thin opening. And see how easy it moves now, and it didn't move that easy before? Then this piece with the ridge on it goes in this way. Spring goes on top. There's up or down, doesn't matter, it's the same. Then right here, I'm gonna go ahead and lightly just get these started. And we don't want to tighten it down because we don't have the ball bearings in there yet. So we don't want to tighten it down all the way. We need a little bit of space so that when we begin working the ball bearings, they'll stay in there. Now that bottom can pop out pretty easily because it's not secure until it is on the post or the shaft where the pedal is. That bottom bit can come out no problem. So now that this is just kind of snug up there, I'm gonna lift the camera up here. So down in there, see that ledge? The ball bearings need to go on top of that ledge. In between that ledge and not fall out these holes. It is super, super tricky. So the next part is to get the ball bearings inside here where they need to go. I found that, since I don't have any real tools, I have a Blistex cap. I'm gonna pull the Blistex cap off. All right. It is gonna go in here. I'm gonna push it up with my finger as far as it can, and what's gonna happen is when that sits in there and then the little other bit sits here, it's gonna allow the ball bearings, when I drop the ball bearings in, to hit this and go around that area and not fall out these holes. So now that I have that in, this is what it'll look like on the inside. So see how there's that gap at the top of the ball bearing, and I can make it bigger and littler? Well, as I drop in the ball bearings, and it's trial and error here. It took me a long 20 minutes probably to get it all work. That's one, and it's off to the side. It's where it needs to go. And I'm gonna go ahead and begin putting the rest in there. If you lift up on this, they're gonna fall out. So I'm gonna do this one by one and then try to show you what it looks like when they're all in there. Now I'm pushing pressure down because that spring will pop out, and you can see that the ball bearings are in there, and that Blistex cap is still there. I'm gonna leave that Blistex cap on until right before I slide it on the shaft, and I'm gonna get my wife to pop that sucker out of there with a screwdriver as I hold it tight, top to bottom instead of side to side like this, and go out there and slide it on the shaft. Right now, everything moves really, really easily here, so it should be working just fine. All right, so it's very difficult. This, as you slide it on the shaft, this piece here will pop out and you'll lose all your ball bearings. So it's hard to finagle it so that it slides down and sits on this before it pops out, because my fingers don't fit real well. Now, we have these screws that hold, they go into the hole that was on the side where I said those ball bearings could very easily fall out of. So once it slots in that hole, then you screw it into the sidebar here. And then you repeat that with the other side and it's on, okay? So I'm gonna put the camera down and do that. Okay, so when you move the pedal, this will push this up and down, and you can see it actually go up and down here as well. See how that's pushed up and down? If for some reason this isn't engaging right, there's a rod here on the inside of this. It comes out to this nut. Pull that nut off, adjust this rod right here so that it tensions this foot so that it engages. And now it comes up easy, goes down and holds. Release out. When you release it, it'll slide. That sets it, this releases it and releases it. And that's how you work the pedal. All right. Remember, this piece here has to engage that, and the rod in the middle, adjusted by this nut here, pull that nut off, adjust the rod, put it back. That'll make sure that this engages that and moves it.